Morning everyone and welcome to the special meeting on the 18th of June, and I'll open the meeting at 9:10. Councillor Neal.
Mayor, I'd like to move a procedural motion that item C1 that's enclosed be moved to the open agenda.
Have a seconder. Councillor Davis, would you like to speak?
Thanks, Mayor. Whilst we don't normally speak on these things, we can speak on them. I just, for me, this is a really important decision for our organisation. There are, a number of stakeholders involved, people in this room, the organisational staff, the community. I think by providing the report that has been tabled for us to consider today, having that at open allows other people to see that report, and I think it's open and transparent.
I too will be voting for it to go into open because we as a council stood on being open and transparent, so there's nothing in this report that other people shouldn't see. So more than happy for that to happen. So we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. So we'll still call it C1? Yeah? Okay. C1, organisational structure review. Do I have a mover? Councillor Neal?
I just have a question.
Yes.
Can I just ask a question? Through you, Madam Mayor, to...
Mics on?
We do have our mics on. Through you, Madam Mayor, to CEO Rob, just one question I have. In the resolution, if we move it as it stands, is the adoption of the organisation structure as attached. In the documents that I have on that second line, it's just got the Deputy CEO position on the same line as directors, whereas I thought the intention was that the Deputy CEO would come off the CEO position and then down. And I'm just wanting to clarify, if we adopt it as is in the report today, what does that mean for that particular position?
Yeah, no, you're right, Councillor. It was indicated there, that workshop there, that it comes off to the side, and I've got others that come off to the side, the corporate comms team, the HR team, and there's no issue with that. Probably in point 4 of the resolution there, authorise the CEO to implement the adopted structure and undertake necessary actions to give effect to the changes and make any necessary adjustments, including the flexibility to make amendments to titles and reporting relationships. So that under that reporting relationships there, the council's still their wish to have it there, I can move it up off that side there. It's still a direct report to me, but on the structure, it just clarifies it out to the side.
Yeah, just because of the system you're using. Yeah. So just so I'm very clear, your intention is to have the Deputy CEO report directly from you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Councillor Neal?
I'm happy to move.
Yes.
I'll move that Council 1 receive the report as an update on the organisational structure review process initiated by Council Resolutions OM/04 2024/06 and OM 11.2024/36. To note that consultation has been undertaken with councillors, staff representatives and the community as part of the organisational review process. 3, adopt the organisational structure as outlined in attachment 3 in accordance with section 196(1) of the Local Government Act 2009. And 4, authorise the CEO, Chief Executive Officer, to implement the adopted structure and undertake all necessary actions to give effect to the changes and make any necessary adjustments, including the flexibility to make amendments to titles and reporting relationships to ensure an effective organisational structure.
I have a seconder. Councillor Hancock.
Just a question. Would the move be interested in adding an amendment to add in to keep the existing Shire boundary names?
The existing Shire boundary.
Oh, well, whether you add an to keep like the naming of the areas still, keep it as the existing Shire boundary names.
I think I know what you're talking about,
Instead of Mitchell surrounds, keep it as Baringa.
No, I'm happy with how it's been presented.
Okay.
But you, Councillor Birkin, are entitled to move an amendment
Wanna move it?
yourself.
Yeah, but I think that'd be a moot point, so I'll just keep going. It's right.
Are you right, Councillor?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. On that note, would you like to speak, Councillor?
Yeah, thanks very much, Mayor. I'm happy to move this today because I believe this is the right structure to deliver the key services our residents and community need, not only to live but work and to grow right across the Maranoa. Council 12 months ago undertook a decision to review the council structure, and it was centred on value for money for ratepayers. This process that was to be followed was around good governance principles. And for me, that would be that we were to put the right due diligence around the review. We wanted it to be led by a permanent holder of the CEO role, and that's why we waited until we had appointed Rob Haywood into the CEO role to undertake this review. The general public would be given the opportunity to provide input into the review, and that staff would be consulted and listened to. And for me, it's been a thorough process, and I think we've achieved just that. The structure proposed and what I've moved cements the community's desire to have a local boss by introducing operational managers for Surradin surrounds, Injun surrounds, Roma, Yulbar, Wallumbilla surrounds, and Mitchell and surrounds. And that feedback has come both last term, this term, from staff, from community, that there is an importance for our smaller communities to have that local boss, somewhere that they can go to have decisions made, to have the right delegation to make those decisions, and to ensure that council is nimble enough to move more quickly than probably it was in the past. I think this structure it does balance the need for that local boss with the broader regional coordination. We are a regional council. We are here to represent the entire region and deliver services for that entire region. And with that, you need that regional coordination to be able to achieve it. Pleasingly, there is a renewed focus in and around the community services we deliver, economic development. Tourism is embedded once again into our organisation by having a coordinator, a regional coordinator that will look after tourism and selling our region as a whole, but also acknowledging the important local tourism landmarks that we have that spread across the region. Seeing the customer services and the libraries come back together from a regional context too, I think will be welcomed by the staff that operate in those areas. One would hope there won't be any adverse changes, or I can't see any adverse changes from a community focus into those areas. In fact, I think by having that regional coordination in both customer services and libraries, our customers will get and residents will get an increased service. I think it's important that we reintroduce the role of a deputy CEO. I've been involved in council terms where we had that position in our organisational structure. In fact, our CEO of today was our deputy CEO for most of the time after amalgamation. And I think having that 2IC role in our organisation is an important one. And I think will be welcomed in terms of the leadership back into our organisation. I'm really pleased with the thoroughness that has gone into the review. I think the staff, certainly the anecdotal feedback that I've had, but also the more structured feedback that has come through from the consultants that we used, our CEO and our senior executive and HR providing that feedback into the room has certainly made me feel comfortable that the staff have had an opportunity to have input into this structure. We've listened to them. At the end of the day, they are the people on the ground that deliver the services for our community, and I think it's important that we take their feedback on board. I feel that that's certainly what we've done. This isn't necessarily universal changes to the structure. We're obviously streamlining the executive level in the organisation, and there are some tweaks as it flows down, and to make sure that that's seamless and recognising that in changes in the past, and I'm not talking about immediate changes, I'm talking about changes in the organisational structure over the last 15 years. It probably has been at times a little bit clunky. Introducing an organisational performance officer into the structure will ensure that there is a person focused in the immediate term with the changes that will come into place if Council adopts this structure today. And I think that is certainly welcomed from this room, but I think it will be welcomed by the staff in general as well. So there may be tweaks that we need to do as this starts to get embedded. That feedback will come from the CEO and his team as they introduce this structure. And I think Council needs to be mature enough to take that feedback on board and make those changes if and when needed. But I think this is the right step for our organisation. I think it's the right mix of local and regional management across Maranoa Regional Council that will deliver the key services for our community. And I'm very happy to move, and I urge all councillors to support it.
Thank you, Councillor. Anyone like to speak against?
No, I don't want to go against.
Okay, no one against? I would like to speak next, if that's okay. Only because I know you guys have got it all covered, so I'll just do my little bit. Thank you all for your commitment of each and every one of you in the chamber today who have wholeheartedly supported this undertaking of the organisational restructure. My commitment to the Maranoa was to do a full review of the structure, and that is what this council has done. I stood on the belief that we as a council were too top-heavy and needed more people on the ground, not at the table. I have been nothing but open, honest and transparent about this. This has not been done on the back of an A4 piece of paper. Staff completed more than one survey, held workshops to find what was working and what wasn't, their biggest challenges in the day-to-day operation, and their ideas on how we could do better. We have tried to take the staff on this journey with us, making sure they feel that they have been listened to. A community survey was also conducted to inform us on the strengths and weaknesses of council. I don't believe we could have done any more. I don't believe we could have been more thorough in the way we have conducted this review. We have worked alongside the executive team, and my heartfelt thanks goes to our CEO Rob and our directors for the way they have listened to the chamber and taken all our thoughts and direction on board. This structure will be implemented on the 1st of July, but that won't be the be-all, end-all. We are committed to reviewing the structure, working with and listening to staff to ensure it is working for the betterment of the Maranoa. I need to also thank you, councillors. You have given so much of your time to do this in the most methodical way, never once saying no to all the extra briefing days. We have, I believe, done this with every consideration given to make this a clearer, more accountable structure for our council. I know I have said believe too many times, but I do strongly believe that this is the right way forward for our council. With this structure, we have now brought the much needed regional back into Maranoa Regional Council. I look forward to seeing the workforce being united and staff feeling that they not only belong, but they will thrive. So many positive and possibilities in this structure. I want to see this council become the employer of choice in the Maranoa. Would anybody else like to speak? Councillor Hancock.
Thank you. I'll be supporting the adoption of the organisational structure as presented today because I believe it provides balance. It balances what is already working within our organisation and within our community, whilst maintaining our service levels by providing a local operations manager for each of our communities and what we can afford. This organisational review for me was never about cutting service levels. It was about finding the ability to maintain the service levels we already give to our community. And we've been able to do that by being able to reduce the budget for our organisation structure, but yet put more officers in the field to assist with the staff who are already delivering our service level to our community. That provides balance. I also support the organisation structure because I believe the process to get to today has been right. And I know it has taken a long time to get here, and we acknowledge that. I thank the staff and the community for giving us the time to get to where we are today so that we can make the very best decision. This review has not been just an idea. This review has been thought about, consulted, and looked at over a year. It has been a long journey. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the CEO, Robbie Hayward, for the way you have conducted this review. Your personal approach to consulting our staff, our community, and us as councillors is exemplary, Rob, and I would like to acknowledge that, and it shows your true leadership in our organisation. So thank you so very much for valuing the people of our organisation and of our community. Council understands that rolling out a new organisation structure does take some time, and we understand that the best way to roll out an organisation structure is via communication. Communication is the key. We value our people in our organisation so much that within the organisation structure, we have put an organisational performance officer in the structure. That is to support our staff in the rollout of this structure, and our local operations managers in our communities will support our community with the rollout of this organisation structure if it is adopted today. Communication is key, and we value it as council. So if this organisation structure does get supported today, I ask that our staff and our community to continue to communicate with us. Tell us what's working and tell us what's not working. Keep communicating with us. I believe over the course of this review, we have listened to our staff, we have listened to our community, and that is why this organisational structure as presented today is a balanced approach. One, that support our staff. Two, that maintains our community service delivery levels. And three, a structure we can afford. And that is why I'll be supporting it today.
Councillor. Councillor Brompton.
Thank you, Mayor. I think a lot of this has been said, but I think it is such an important thing. It's important for us all to have our say in what we believe.
Absolutely.
It has been good to see a staff-led consultation with community input also, and having an external party to lead some of that too. It reduces some of that bias, and I think it allows free discussion with staff members when it's not being led necessarily by a manager. So I applaud Rob, the CEO, for engaging Gerard McCarthy from Change 2020 as well, because he's assisted through that process very well. We heard from the staff clearly about ineffective communication, that they're frustrated by the processes and frustrated by some of the broken linkages between teams. And from what I can see, this structure will help with that. I do understand that there can be unrest and difficulty when we're implementing a new structure, and having the organisational performance position, I think, will help that. I think with any major change like this, it is really important to step back, have time, have someone leading that process that's removed a bit from the day-to-day, because it's very important to get things right. And as we've said, things might not be quite right, and we may have to adjust some things. I think it is great to see tourism, grants, sport and recreation strengthened in this structure. Another thing from my portfolio area is the strengthening in governance as well. It's something that we have struggled with a bit in the last 12 months around some of the governance issues in the organisation. So I think having that governance role in there as well will assist with some of those things as we move forward also. We do see some net savings. One thing was the previous structure there were supposed to be savings realised and that never eventuated. So with this structure, we know, you can see in the report, there's an estimated saving. That can't be realised fully until all the positions are evaluated, and it's a process that has to go through to get to the right level. Jobs get assessed through that process. So once we've done that, we'll know the actual line item of the savings, but we've got an estimate in there. Look, I just think that, again, we've listened, we've spent the time. Robbie has done a great job at leading this. It will take a while to bed it down, but I'm really looking forward to us being able to move forward and still have our local operational managers in place for the communities and staff to be able to access.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Davis.
Thank you. I would also speak in support of this. It's a significant reform to our organisational structure, one that has been directly shaped by the voices of council staff and driven by the needs of our community. While the motion to undertake an organisational review was brought to the table by the newly elected Mayor Taylor last year, council was not starting at the beginning. A body of work was completed under the previous CEO in the form of a staff survey in which 74% of staff responded to, and a number that we now know is an amazing rate for a response. Over the past year, we've heard a clear and consistent message from the workforce. The organisation was too top-heavy, too complex, too fragmented. Staff told us we were working in silos, teams disconnected, effort duplicated, communication fractured, and staff morale low. This reform is about breaking down those silos and moving forward as one council with one direction. We estimate that this new model will deliver significant savings of $450,000 per year, savings that can be reinvested into community programs, infrastructure, and essential services. But this is more than a balance sheet. It's about performance, accountability, and delivering real value for the people we serve. I know that change brings questions, it brings challenges, but as councillors, we are not elected to stand still. We were elected to lead, and leadership means making bold, thoughtful decisions that put residents first. Let me be clear that no one has or will be left behind in this process. As other councillors have spoken on, there has been lots of engagement to date, and there has and will be support, consultation and transition planning for every staff member affected. This is a change made with people, not to them. I'm proud to support the adoption of this organisational structure and thank the staff for having the courage to speak up and the insight to help shape this change. One council, one direction, that is the path forward.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Vincent.
Yes, thank you. I'm more than happy to support this motion here today. I'd also like to thank our CEO, Rob, for bringing this significant report back to Council today. It does feel like a long time coming with the initial request made by the Mayor at one of our very first meetings at Council, but we did need to get a CEO in place. I want to sincerely thank the staff, not only for their resilience during the challenging times in the past few years, but also for their willingness to step forward with honest, constructive feedback throughout the consultation workshops. We have read the feedback, we have discussed it, we have considered it carefully. It was encouraging to see a positive shift in tone throughout the past 12 months of consultation, which reflects genuine engagement and progress. As a staff member who lived through the previous restructure, I can say that authentic consultation was very important to me. This could not just be a tick the box exercise. I believe we've already started addressing some of the more immediate low-hanging fruit, which is a positive sign for our organisation. There has been consistent feedback both from staff and the broader community about a disconnect between staff and leadership, inefficiencies in internal processes and a lack of clarity around the effectiveness of our current organisational model. Many of these issues were raised during the last restructure, and it's clear that some of the outcomes of the Go Local approach simply didn't deliver as intended, but some did. I truly appreciate the insights shared by our internal teams and the strong community sentiment that a more regionally aligned model was necessary. But that said, we also heard where the local model did work well, and those successes should not be overlooked. This restructure is more of a reshaping than a total overhaul. What matters most is that more resources will now be directed to operational areas rather than strategic levels, That's what we as councillors were elected to oversee, working together as an entire team, delivering real outcomes for our community. One area I'm particularly eager to see, of course, activated is the new Community Tourism Grants team. Over the past 5 years, this space has really struggled. The community has told us clearly that the fragmented town-by-town approach to tourism hasn't worked. It's time to return to promoting our region as a whole, to build a unified identity to become a destination. Local staff supporting their areas but still being able to contribute to regional strategies that drive broader benefit. The addition of an extra staff member in June will assist with backfilling to prevent office closures, which has been a long-term issue for this community. Grants are another area where we've seen strong demand, both from the community and within council itself. We need to supplement our rate base with external funding, and I'm pleased to see a dedicated grants position returning to the structure. Similarly, the reinstatement of the Sport and Rec officer. We're a proud sporting region, and this role will be a strong advocate for their needs. The introduction of a Deputy CEO position reflects our commitment to strong leadership and succession planning. This role aligns with our strategic focus on regional roads and major projects, critical high-value areas for our ratepayers. With additional qualified project officers, we'll be better equipped to deliver on those priorities with greater efficiency and focus. Finally, it's vital that the restructure is not just implemented and left to evolve. That's why I support the introduction of an organisational performance officer. This role will be crucial in guiding the organisation through change, ensuring alignment across policies and procedures, helping us track what's working and what needs adjusting. Ongoing communication, both internally and with the community, will remain essential. Thank you to my fellow councillors, to the staff, our community and the leadership team for taking part in this important journey. These changes were necessary, and I look forward to seeing them supported today and successfully rolled out.
Thank you, councillor. Anyone else like to speak?
Yeah, I'll speak.
Councillor Burkett.
Yeah, unfortunately, I will speak against the motion. It's not really to do with the structure. The only negatives I have is there wasn't enough community consultation during this process. I think, which a lot of times it can be on the community as well. Last time there was only 50 out of the whole rate base, and this time there was half that. So that is a bit disappointing. Our community and ratepayers are key stakeholders in all of this, and along with changing the area names, I think those need to be put to the community via feedback through a mail-out survey similar to what we do for general issues. I've been on the fence with organisational view as it once again was an election tool, 2 elections in a row, I suppose. Just to give some history how things played out last term, I was part of a group that stood for certain things that were upfront about them, what you'd call open and transparent. One of the key items was bring back local, which we did, but the downside, it took 2 years to put in place. The system wasn't really in place for less than 2 years before the last election came around. In regard to the directors having a title, they were called directors to give directional power and budget control in their area, otherwise nothing would have changed. I feel for the 5 directors that they have been looking over their shoulder in the last 15 months, wondering if they were going to have a job going on the election campaign. They have done a tremendous job under the circumstances, and the communities they have had under their leadership, all the better for it. Giving that direct contact point for the staff and community members have been very beneficial, to say the least, and I applaud that the new structure keeps that part of it in there. Also getting numerous projects done in their communities and closing out historical overdue customer requests. As for changing the names of the working areas, this hasn't been a decision of council via resolution, merely rewriting the narrative. Amalgamation affected each of the smaller communities, and they were stripped of various things: workforce, equipment, representation, decision-making and identity. Losing the positions that were once in our communities like CEO, engineer, assistant engineer, overseer and youth workers, to name a few. This affected the overall population of these smaller towns and had a flow-on effect through schools, hospitals and the police force due to population decline. Pre-amalgamation shire names give us a tie to the past for sure, which originally gave the new council the base to build the Maranoa Regional Council. For example, I know hearing from locals that Mitchell, Amby, Mungalala communities will identify with Baringa. The smaller towns feel important as opposed to being the little brother. Each town has the same feeling of importance under the old boundaries. To say that staff don't know the old boundary line seems very worrying, because it doesn't matter what the areas are called, staff need to know our boundaries. I can, however, see the Shire boundaries being tweaked after future consultation with community and staff. I would like to commend former CEO Edwina Marks and current CEO Rob Hayward in running a thorough staff consultation. I think Gerard McCarthy was the right person for the job and was very approachable and did a great job. All staff are invited to give feedback and a review of their organisational structure. I commend the CEO for going to the local areas for greater staff involvement. In comparison, last time only 30% have contributed in 2 sessions held in Roma. There's a lot I like about the structure, especially still having the local boss in each area with budget. I also agree with the 10 points listed in this report. A lot have been mentioned by my fellow councillors. Along with the areas being modified to suit the current climate, and Rob having some oversight where changes need to be tweaked, as that is his role. I had concerns at the time we blurred the lines between operational strategic during this process. I do think we should have given Rob and his team more time to see where they could see changes. I do feel for the staff going through this, as that could happen again in less 3 years, who knows. I just think the organisation, we need to be accountable and don't have the mentality it's not my job, and do those little 1%ers that the community see and want done. That's what's important for them most of the time. It should be, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. But I do happy to endorse that part of the resolution. I'm happy with the restructure, the review. It's just those 2 points that I listed. Other than that, I'm very happy with the new review and the structure, and I applaud Rob and your staff for doing this, and I'm glad you did it the way you did, and you didn't rush through it, so I applaud you for that. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor. Anyone else like to speak? Councillor Seawright.
Start off, I'd just actually like to thank CEO Rob and all the leadership team for and all the staff for engaging with us. They've come forward with a lot of positivity, and the councillors themselves for the feedback. We've had some really big sessions on this and review, and we've started out with this not just not because of an election promise, but because we want to do better for the residents of the Maranoa. That's the end result, is ensuring that our staff are happy, and the end result being about staff happy is the residents of the Maranoa get what they deserve. They get that customer service level that they require, and all our local communities will be better for it. What we call people in their titles, it's not much of a difference in some regards. That as long as we have someone in the local areas that they can report to, we go to see about, and CRs are getting completed in good time, whether the outcome of the CR is good or bad. But as long as the CR gets looked at in the in the best possible time frame available. But in saying it, I guess what we've done is also make the flow through the organisational structure a lot better. A lot of things have come back to a central position, and it helps our staff. It just really looks at making sure things aren't muddled up, because basically you go across the whole region of the Maranoa, you can just, it is, to some degree, I don't want to say siloed because people on the outer reaches don't actually know what's happening in the middle of, in the middle of this structure in Roma. So a lot of those facilities and a lot of those have been brought back together. So everyone can actually work together. That communication will get out and about, and Rob has done his very best to ensure it. I applaud everyone who has been involved, including the community, on providing feedback, and I look forward to see what happens going forward. And as we've all said, that it's not just the be all, the ends all, because we have all committed to ensuring that we can review it along the way.
Thank you, councillor. Councillor Flynn, would you like to speak?
Yes, I'd just like to say a few words, nothing too much, but I suppose one of the things that I think back on is the fact that if I didn't sit on the situation with regard to the change of the structure, I wouldn't be sitting here today, only getting back on council by a few votes. I find it difficult to sit down and listen to people talking about pre-amalgamation. Pre-amalgamation goes back to 2008. While I didn't totally, as a person, agree with what happened with regionalisation of councils. I think it's something that we have to work with. I've been involved with council since 1977. That's 48 years. 2008 is 17 years ago. So 1748 is a pretty long time for us to be hanging our hats on the problems of pre-amalgamation. We need, as of today, which I believe is the 18th of June 2025, to move forward under the structure that's been presented, work with that structure, and I suppose as a final note, that nobody is happier than me to see a Sport and Recreation Officer returned to this particular organisation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, councillor. That's everybody. Would you like to sum up, councillor?
Thanks very much, Mayor, and thanks to all the councillors for the contributions today. For me, I'm comfortable that the appropriate due diligence and thoroughness has been applied to this review. The contribution that has been and commitment that has come from Rob as CEO and the team around him to shape this and present it to us today, I feel have their hands across all of it. At the end of the day, the responsibility of adopting the organisational structure sits with council. That's very clear in the Local Government Act, and therefore we can have input into what that structure looks like. Who sits in the roles and their position descriptions and the things that go in and around the running of the organisation and the management of the staff, that sits with Rob. But it is our job to put the right structure in place to deliver the services for our community. And I think it has been the best blend of input from the council table and the organisational wing that I've ever been involved in. So I'm very proud of the fact that we took the time to understand people's views in this room, the views of our staff, with the conduit being Rob and his team, and the feedback that we got from the community. We did go out to, for public comment, and we did receive comments. We did receive feedback on the structure. And some of that feedback was that they liked the fact that there's a local boss. I'm pretty happy that we're keeping that element of it. It was clearly something the community wanted, had been working, and yes, it looks a little bit different, and the title's different, but it's still a local boss. And so I want to echo the comments of other councillors here today and thanking the staff for their patience since we considered the motion that was put forward last year to undertake a review. Thank you for your patience in allowing council and councillors to put the right practices in place in and around the governance of this and the due diligence. I feel that this has been an incredibly measured process. And now we've got to turn that, what we've done, into a methodical and measured introduction of the organisational structure led by Rob. I touched on it, others have touched on it. Having that organisational performance officer position within the structure will help to do just that. The savings are important to acknowledge. This was about having a look at the value for money for ratepayers, and that certainly has been a focus of this review, but not the only focus. Getting the right structure to deliver the services our community need and want has been really important, and the reintroduction of particular roles that I've already touched on and other councillors have highlighted here today will do just that. And so I'm really comfortable that this is the right decision for our community, with the caveat that if we do need to tweak this, we're mature enough to recognise where we need to do that, and we will listen to the feedback coming from the organisational performance officer and our CEO as they go about introducing this structure from the 1st of July.
Thank you, councillor. On that note, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? Against? 8-1. Thank you, everybody, and that's the end of our special meeting, so I'll close the meeting at 9:50, and thank you all for your attendance.